a better Nigeria? Is it a myth, or do we keep hoping?
Nigeria is a highly religious country. How come corruption thrives?
Why is adoption not encouraged in Nigeria? Is there a future for the Nigerian youth?
Being rich and famous, is that the only reason for being an artist?
What makes a great nation? Is it the leaders? What about the people?
This is Answers with Dr.Reju.
Alright, good evening and welcome to another exciting episode of Answers with Dr.Reju, where critical life issues are clarified. My name is Agnes and I am here with Lois and Joseph, who would be my co-anchors for today.
Good evening.
Good evening, Agnes. Good evening, Lois.
Good evening. Alright, of course. And we have Dr. Reju in the house, the Chief Resource Person of the Center for Transformational Leadership, City of Jos. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Agnes. I'm very glad to be here.
Yes.
Good evening, guys.
Good evening,
Good
sir.
evening.
Yeah, and we're glad to have you.
Yep.
Now, last week we talked about resolutions. It was an interesting episode, but if you missed out, you can check out our website, answerswithdrreju.org, to stream on all our previous episodes. Now, don't forget that the number to send your messages or comments to is 081-4456-9000. 081-4456-9000. So today we'll be talking about something, and that would be the myth of greener pastures. I don't know if it's okay for me to have just, it feels like I've concluded that it's a myth, don't you think?
Well, we're going to find out.
If it's really right, okay. All right.
Well, you know that, I'm sorry if I'm jumping in, but you know that it's actually from a saying that the grass is always greener
on the other side.
on the other side, right? And there's a common proverb where I grew up, that okay, that one won't flow, so let me just leave that out. But that's actually where that is connected to that saying that the grass is always greener on the other side.
Exactly. So this will take us to the stuff we're going to be talking about today, because we actually went out there to make some little interviews. So we'll be playing that for you to listen. But the idea is that, just like Dr. Reju just said, there's this idea of the fact that it's not the fact. There's this idea that there's this idea that it's always greener at the other side. There's always something. That thing I don't have is better. There's this thing I think as a person, there's this idea of, okay, maybe it will be better somewhere else other than where I am at. So that is what we're going to be talking about, because in fact, in this context, Nigerian youths define greener pastures as anywhere, somewhere away from Nigeria. That's really sad. So the AWDR team went outside to gather opinion about this particular stuff, and then we'll be playing it for you to hear. We got opinions from secondary school individuals, and then we had undergraduates, and then university graduates. So we'll be sampling that opinion. This is what they had to say.
Our educational sector here in Nigeria, where students do write JAM, a lot of students, they don't get admission. Even the JAM itself, they don't give the admission, school don't give admission. You will be at home, you'll be depressed, you will not know what to do. And sometimes, even when you pass out from university, there's no work.
You have to look for something doing if really you want to survive in this our country. I would like to leave the country because it seems things are not working.
A creative-minded person like me, I think me leaving the country is an opportunity for me to go and explore more. Me who want to study computer science in school, and we don't have the opportunity, the technology here. Whenever we watch videos of those foreign people, our mind get busted that we want to leave Nigeria. We think we are drawing back, just like a cycle. Instead of we going forward, we are revising. So, and sometimes whatever they teach us in school is something of the olden days. You see a teacher holding a book, he will say, this was what I was being taught when I was in so class. So instead of us exploring, telling us new things that is happening, they'll keep on telling us things that are of old. I would like to leave the country here, Nigeria, because I'm a creative-minded person. I want to explore more. I want to know more, of which here in Nigeria, we don't have the opportunity to. I will come back, but there's no date.
We all want a place or a country where things work. Nothing seems to work really well here in Nigeria. From poor and bad infrastructure to the amenities we are being offered by the government, and even down to the challenges we face security challenges. There's usually no light or less light. The roads are bad. We have poor water supply. In fact, we have lots and lots of outbreaks of diseases. So those should be reasons why you want to live here, to get to somewhere that those things are less, or you don't even have them.
That was opinion of individuals that we sampled. So what's the first thing that comes to your mind, sir?
Well, I mean, I don't know how you sort of, sample, the people you talk to. You said you spoke with some high school, some in tertiary, right? And but it's quite depressing when I, hear this, these things, and it's one thing to know that these opinions are there, but again, you also have to understand, when maybe it's, for me now, I'm hearing it, and then to hear even the quality of responses, it's very depressing. I don't know if these are, there are a lot of things on social media that comes like comedies and all those kind of things, and you can see I'm struggling because what I had there is very depressing. But I personally don't think that paints a picture or an accurate picture of the way things are in Nigeria. I'm in a particular kind of position to say that because I live here and I work globally, and I've come to see that you are right when you say it's a myth, and this is the way I want us to approach it. And I've had a very personal kind of interaction with, and since I'm not going to mention his name, so it's safe, this is a medical doctor that was going to treat me, young fresh graduate working in a hospital here in Jos, and his plan is to migrate to Canada. His plan is to migrate to Canada to, not even to go and further his education, but to go and to relocate and go and live there. Now, this is the way I want us to approach it. I'm trying that there is something we are missing here, that there's a basic human makeup. And human beings, the way we are made, we are also connected to a place. So there is the whole theory, the whole philosophy, the whole science of place. You see, the most terrible thing that can happen, it's happening right there in this country, where you hear things like IDPs, internally what? Displaced people. So I want to look at this socially, I want to look at it economically. Now, because humans are connected, naturally to a place, when you are displaced either by war or by economy or by reaction, by natural disaster or things like that, it devalues you. And when you are devalued, you can't live a fulfilled life. So for someone, for any reason at all, that you want to leave your place to go and live in another place, you've lost value. you've lost value. Now it becomes more grievous when you are forced to. Now, why I'm not blaming those who want to leave, because like a professor of mine said that, you know, there's a country in the world, is Philippines. Philippines, I think the ratio of their population, I think they have the highest number of their citizens abroad. The most, their major source of foreign exchange earnings is from home remittance. Yeah, that is, their citizens who work abroad send money home, you know, and for Nigeria also, it's also very high in terms of home remittance. But having said that, I'm just trying to give those kind of statistics. But let's take it on that social level of placing and being displaced. First of all, if this trend continues, right, the state of this country, which those respondents have painted in a very graphic way, jam, bad road, outdated educational curriculum and things like that, if we continue to use migration, getting away as the solution, as the, you know, the response, it will never get solved. And let me take that further. If it never gets solved, wherever, now from my own experience of interacting with Nigerians abroad, if Nigeria doesn't get fixed, regardless of where you are, no matter how well, you know, manicured the landscaping and all the roads are, if Nigeria remains the way it is, you will never have peace.
True.
You will never be respected. I even tell African American colleagues of mine that if Africa does not develop, either you are, maybe you are British, you know, British African American, or whatever. If Africa never gets developed, you will never be respected. So having said, the point I'm trying to make is, Nigerians need to know that where they are going, someone developed it. And what you are not part of the developmental process, you will always be an outsider. You will always be an outsider. I am all for people going to study abroad. I'm all for going to, you know, because really, Agnes, it is a myth. The grass is not greener on the other side. How I wish we could talk to Nigerians who live abroad. How I wish we could do that, and then Nigerians at home who are planning to go abroad can hear them. What you do here to earn decent income, you will do 10 times abroad to earn that same decent income. The deception is, when you go abroad and you earn £1, you are seeing 500 naira. That's the deception. You are seeing 500 naira. That's where the deception is. Because I asked a group of Nigerians that I met in London, and I said, if the naira and the pound is at par today, what will you do? The lady said, I will return home last week. That's what the lady said. He said, I will go back last week. So if that's the only reason why you want to go, because of money, because you see, there are tremendous opportunities in our distress. It takes a serious minded, realistic minded kind of person to see it.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Okay, sir, I saw this this shocking statistic online that the age range is between 18 and 35.
Yeah.
Now, my problem is this, that they can't take the risk here, but they can take a huge risk to die in the desert, to die in the sea, but they can't take that same risk.
That's what I'm saying. It's deception. It's deception. These guys, and you see, human beings are not meant to react to situations. We are meant to respond to situations. You see, I'm a sociologist, so I studied the science of humanity, the science of society. So I have a bit of an understanding of how the human mind, or the human personality operates. Whatever you have to react to, it will age you, it will depress you. But whatever comes at you and you respond, you are fulfilled. So you just painted the picture. Why is it that you are willing? I mean, it's so sad to look at a situation where something happened in Libya and you see the number of Nigerians. There was time I was traveling to Malaysia and I went to the embassy. I went to the embassy to get there is no embassy you go to, the place is full. There was time my stepmom was going to have a surgery in India. Indian embassy is full. Nigerians, they want to go anywhere as long as the name is not Nigeria.
True.
It's not right. It is not real. And let me tell you, if you live, for example, in a place like London, if you earn £500 in a month, if you take home 250, you're very shrewd. Yeah. The taxes. And let me also tell you, if you live there and you are not documented, you live every second tortured. You see a policeman who is just on his own, your heart skips.
Yeah.
The man is not looking for you. Someone insults you inside the bus or inside the train, you have to soak it in. Is that the way to live? Now, I am not saying that people don't have credible reasons. If you are on a political asylum, marital asylum, right? Those things can happen. If your life is in danger and you migrate abroad, you are respected, you're protected. Your status is established. I've gone to speak to a group of Nigerians before, in the UK, and I told them, if you are here, you are not documented, and you can't really find a credible reason why you're here, go back home. You see, let me tell you, Nigerians are richer than Nigerians who live in the UK or in the US. Nigerians who live at home, they are richer than Nigerians who live abroad. Because the cost of living here is still pretty low compared. Because what you are going to do to get a pound, to get a dollar, is so much. People are just looking. You see, the difference between here and where we're talking about is infrastructural development. That's just the difference. It's infrastructural development. And I think I've said it on this program many times. In our disorganized kind of system, there are opportunities there. You can't just get up from your house. If you live in the US, you live in, and you just set up a small kiosk in front of your house and start selling something. You will go to jail. You will go to jail. So these are the so Agnes, it's a myth. It doesn't exist. It does not. And then it now it's very interesting that we are discussing this at this time, because because the guys I heard, I'm not trying to be insulting, the guys I heard on this survey, they are just taking the decision based on hearsays. I have a younger brother who migrated to Canada. Before he left, he was a company secretary of one foremost company here. He had many years at the bar behind him before he left. When he got there, he had to go back to school to go and study law for him to practice. Same for you can't have a medical degree here and you go to the US and you go to the hospital and start prescribing drugs. No, you go back to school. Now imagine the number of years. That's the reason why many get there and they just said to you, see, I know I have people who are my proteges, migrated to the United States, full-blown medical doctors here. When they got there, they were acting as theater assistants. They were scrubs. They had to go back to school. because you can't use it. So there's a whole conversion that you have to do. That took over maybe like 3, 4, 5 years of your life. Except you want to go and clean the train station, you want to go, and that's tough. Even my younger brother who went abroad to go do masters, I remember when he landed there, he happened to go to Michigan, which is one of the coldest places in the, in the US. When he sent a message back home, it's as if I should come back. Is it Nigerians abroad or Africans abroad are not, let me say it might sound like a joke, they are not enjoying, especially when you are not documented. Let me say this, it might sound funny. The only time they take pictures to send home is during winter, when they wear many clothes. So they look as if they are well fed. That might sound like a joke.
All right.
Yeah.
So you said something about standard of living, it is better here, and I assume that it is based on the information we get from maybe UN. UN say if you live less than $2 a day, you are poor, and then we use the same brush because whatever they buy there is not the same we buy here, and then we can't use dollar to just judge everybody. So
now, how much
do we
is
respond
okay?
to that
How much
kind
is
of,
$2? 750.
Yes.
Now, look at 750 naira, or maybe 700 naira, $2. Let's say at 350, right?
Yeah.
Is that right? 700 naira. Imagine, what can 700 naira get to you in a day? Can you get a good meal for 700 naira?
Not talk of
No.
3
I'm asking
square
you
meals.
guys.
Yes, if it's Nigeria, morning, afternoon, evening, 700 naira can serve.
I'm not talking about 3-course meal,
Yes.
Okay.
right? I'm not
Okay.
talking about. I'm talking about healthy. Let's look at it right in this studio. Let's look at what 700 naira can get. Now,
Okay.
let's push it further. Now, look at 700 naira, right? Do you think, how many Nigerians do you think live on 700 naira? How many Nigerians will you look at their phone and they don't have credit?
And data.
And data. And they feed. You see, when UN says do those kind of things, they don't put our culture into consideration. They don't put our communal kind of, realities into consideration. Because we are not loners in Africa, right? People care for one another, right? Because you might not even need the 700 naira and you still feed. All those kind of things. That's why, you see, Africa need to rise up to tell their own story, right? Because if you, it's not possible for you to just walk up to somebody. You see, for instance, if you see a beggar in London who is maybe like a white man or a white woman, he would never beg another white person for money. He will look for a black person because they know that that's the one who is generous. Yeah. They won't beg a white person for money. They look for the African. Because it's the African that will say, hey, yeah, take. Yeah, because that's the way we are. So, you see, if I have 700 naira, I might not have to spend it for me to feed. Okay. Right? Because there's a family. There's an extended family. There are friends. I have gone, listen to this, I've gone for dinner with my classmates in London. And after dinner, this is a corporate dinner. After dinner, everybody brings out their bank cards and we begin to do arithmetic. If I invite you for dinner in London, better have your money. That's their lifestyle. Right? Only Africa, and when many Africans even get there, you see, I'm trying to paint this picture to let those who think The moment you cross the Atlantic, life begins to just, because I always tell my sister when, I have a lot of siblings abroad, and that's why I can tell you this. When some of their friends tell them, send me money, I said, let them know that when you arrive at Heathrow, they don't greet you with an ATM machine. These guys walk the kind of work you won't do here. That's what they do. And tough. When it's cold, is wickedly cold. When it is hot, it is wickedly hot. And they walk. They walk. So it's not a place where you just go and you just enjoy. No. To get a decent job, you need good papers. You need to get, even then. I have a daughter. Many of you, those of you know me very well. I have a daughter who is raising twins. Right now, lives in London. It is tough. Now listen, before she left, she had 2 nannies in Lagos. 2. 1 child per nanny. Right? For her, my goodness. You see, let me paint the picture for you. So that those who think when you just get there, she has a nanny. I don't want to give you the figures that she earns, but it's crazy. It's crazy. Now, this nanny lives in the house. She doesn't work on weekends, but she lives there and eats. She lock up herself in the room by weekend or go out. Right? She won't touch a thing because it's a contract. You see, cost of living is high. Very high. Do you know how much it is? Do you know how much it is to fuel a car? Do you know how much it is for you to buy a bus pass of a week? Convert it to Naira, you won't be able to mention the figure. Is it? So it's not. It's a myth, Agnes, that is greener on the other side. It's tough to live there.
Sir.
What's deceiving people is the rate of the Naira.
I really love the
and that it's somewhere else, just somewhere else.
Just go somewhere, right?
I like the passion. I like the way you're really expressing.
Because I've seen it.
Yeah. You see. I think, for me, the turning point to this kind of mindset was one time when we're talking about millennials, wanting something similar to this, but not exactly this. It just changed my mindset, and I think that a whole lot of young people now, the social media is really, really deceiving people, and you find out that they are really desperate. Some of them don't even have cogent, don't even have solid reasons why they want to be there.
Absolutely.
And they don't even understand how life is on the other side. But the way you're really talking is, I'm feeling their pain.
Because I've seen it. A lot of them, you see, and let me also paint a picture for you guys. A lot of Nigerians who live in the UK, in the US, they are more pained about the state of Nigeria than those of us who are here. You know why? They would love to come back home, but it's as if they are trapped. It's as if they are trapped.
And then maybe that's why most times they protest than we do.
Exactly. Because they don't have a choice. You see, what Nigerians need to do, let me be very prescriptive here a little bit. You see, what you don't build, you always be a stranger. Nigerians need to learn the art. This is the only thing we own. Right? This is the only country we can call our own. We need to learn the art of protest. We need to learn the art of holding our government officials accountable. That's the whole mind behind Patrice. We need to, yesterday I was on another, station, and we were talking about what is this whole thing about the increase in VAT, 7.5% and all those kind of things. And the anchor was asking me, is it a case of chicken and egg? Which comes first? Is it the chicken or the egg? And I said, this is not a case of chicken and egg. The government if Nigerians shouldn't have accepted the increase, because the government doesn't need the increase for them to provide infrastructure. With the current level of revenue accruing to government, they can, because statistics say that over 50% of the revenue generated in Nigeria end up in private pockets. Wow. Yeah. And you want to leave that and run away. And then you will now go there and you think you have a right. No country, excuse me, no country, no citizen, no human being enjoying paying tax. But when you see what the tax provides, right, you feel duty bound. You feel, if this good thing must continue, I need to pay my tax. The most heinous crime in America is tax based. They will fly you to jail. They won't drive you in a car. You will enter a plane to go to jail. Sharp, exactly. If you evade tax. If you have a tax, if you are caught to be fraudulent as regard tax, because that's our money, or you now mismanage tax as a government official, you use tax for private benefit, they'll fly you to jail. So you see, the country can't just come without any kind of basis. That's what you are running away from. The government can just say, we're increasing tax, VAT by 7.5%, and everybody keeps quiet. Your response is, let me run away. I remember when we were talking about, in fact, maybe I should have checked before coming on this program, what is the tax, in the UK? I think it's about 40%. Yeah, it's about 40%. So at the time we were talking about Kanu earns about, maybe £55,000 a week. By the time you load tax into it, and my daughter and the husband, they were, she didn't migrate abroad. She was transferred by her company abroad. Now, she gets there and she was talking with the husband and said, by the time we get this money and all the direct debits entered, the tax entered, and all the other costs, there's absolutely nothing remaining. There's really nothing. You see, let me also paint another picture for you guys. If you see a Nigerian in a store in the UK doing shopping, he's visiting. He's visiting. He doesn't live there. That's the truth. He's visiting. He's using Naira, right, to shop there. Are you guys with me? Yes, sir. I have a friend who lives in the South, and the son made a statement about Nigeria and just malign Nigeria. The way many of this, your generation will do. This country is not good. My friend called the son and sat him down. He was almost wringing his neck. That you studied abroad. Every dime that was used to fund your education abroad came from here. How many Nigerians abroad can send their kids to a private school? You dare not. You cannot. You can't afford it. Only Nigerians who live here, right, send their kids there, right, into a private school. Those who live there cannot. They can't afford it. So those who are planning to go abroad, don't think when you get there and you get to the airport, the Queen of England will meet you at the airport with an ATM machine.
Exactly.
Because that's the idea. That's the idea. You won't even be qualified to drive a cab. If you do, it's illegal. And once they get you, you are the next plane. By the time you wake up, you are in Ikeja or Abuja.
Okay, guys. Hope you're listening to this and taking notes, because this is something. Sincerely, this is something that a lot of Nigerians I think about. Like young people. There's this. Okay, I just want to leave, and just leave. Just go somewhere else, even if it's an African country. Just go away from Nigeria. And
people want to migrate to Chad, right?
Just somewhere else, and I don't think that's, from what we are saying, that's not what we should be thinking about as Nigerians. If we leave, who is going to fight for us?
Absolutely.
The country is ours, right? And this is where we can be completely comfortable and free. right? So we'll take a very short break. When we come back, AWDR.
This is Partridge Radio.
This is Answers with Dr.Reju, where critical life issues are clarified. My name is Agnes, and I've been with my crew, Lois and Joseph, and of course Dr. Reju. And we've been talking about the myth of greener pastures. And Dr. Reju has been saying it's really a myth, it's really a myth, it's really a myth. So, Lois, you wanted to say something before we went on a short break.
Yes, I wanted to ask. So, since it's tough on the other side, that other side.
That other side.
Yeah. So, is it better in Africa? Can they now choose Africa?
Can you maybe? Is it that you are comparing Nigeria to another African country, right?
No, we are comparing UK, the UK, Canada.
Okay, that anybody that wants to migrate, you can migrate to another African country. You know, there was something that happened some years ago. I was going to South Africa and I went to the embassy, and I saw this massive crowd. He mentioned, the age, young people, right? So when you hear about those kind of things about xenophobia that happen in South Africa, so how will that influence your decision of migrating to a place like South Africa? And again, let me also paint two pictures for you. The speaker of the assembly in Ethiopia happens to be a classmate of mine. In fact, he was here in Nigeria to come visit me some years ago to be part of a course that I hosted here. And when he came here and he was traveling back, his flight was delayed, and then the ambassador of Ethiopia to Nigeria took him on a tour of Abuja. The guy will pay anything to come and live in Nigeria. This is the Speaker of the House.
Why? Why?
You see, if you go to Ethiopia, Addis, right?
Yeah.
Compared to Abuja or Lagos, is a slum.
Oh wow.
Accra is still a slum. I'm sorry. Yes. Sometimes we over magnify our problems. I was in Tanzania, and I was talking with this colleague of mine who is a professor in a university there, in Tanzania. I was talking with the daughter, and I just mentioned it in passing. Will you love to come study in Nigeria? He said, I wish.
Whoa.
I wish.
We are running away.
And you want to go and live in Tanzania? You want to go and live in... You see, we are using a very, very minute parameter. Something so limited. Right? Something so limited like power cut. As at 1970, right? 1970, there was a power cut in London. Right? There was a power cut in London. Things are not good here. Accepted. If you have a problem in your body, just like we say in African proverb, you don't cut off your head because you have headache. You fix it. Running away because there's a problem here is as if you want to cut off your head because of headache. Why don't you roll up your sleeves and say we must make this place work? And anyone mismanaging our resources will run them out of town. That's it. That's the way, because things have worked in this country before. Running away is more criminal than stealing our money. It is more. That's a bigger crime for me than those stealing money. Because the running away is like also saying rankadede to somebody stealing money. Because you give the guy, freedom to just continue to plunder it. That's it. When will Nigerians learn to fight for their own thing? You see, Pastor Tommy painted a graphic picture at a time. That was when it dawned on me that when Nigeria sell oil, the money belongs to me. He said, if we sell our oil, right, and we write a check for every Nigerian, it will be better. At least I can tar the road in front of my house. If you are my neighbor, you tar your own, right? Before we know it, we tar this place down to Lagos.
True.
Yeah. That was when it dawned on me that, oh, really? So the oil money is actually ours. It doesn't belong to somebody called government. It's actually ours. You see, the money is ours. Tax money is public money. The greatest crime you can commit if you have a visa to go abroad, they tell you you don't have access to public funds. Because that's money worked for by some people. Right? Yeah. So you don't have access. You see, this, to run away and to steal our money is the same. And the young ones need to understand this. When you run, you create more room for politicians to steal money. Yeah. Why don't you have a dream? I'm going to join the police and I'm going to start prosecuting politicians. The reason I want to go to the police force is because I want to enforce the law. But you run away. And then you start running from police there. You see, it will never be right. It will never be right. And that's why it's so terrible that a Nigerian speaks with British accent and everybody is respecting the person. That's a slave. Can't you just think about it? At a time, Westerners came here and hounded people away into slavery. Now we are bribing to go into slavery. We pay to go into slavery. Somebody need to rethink, especially the young ones. I made up my mind in 1979 when I finished school start. This was the narrative among my own classmates. Only those who can pass WAEC run abroad. That was the narrative. As at that time, to go abroad to go and study is a choice. You are not being compelled. The only education I got abroad was a doctorate education. That's the only one. I'm not saying people can't go abroad to go and study. I mean, if I have the resources, I send my kids abroad. Right? Yeah. I send them abroad. But I must, even right now, I'm into education. I run a high school and all those kind of things. I want my students to go and study abroad. But the orientation is, when you get abroad, don't say, wow. Say, why not? Don't be awed by all the bright lights. If you see it, the question to ask is, why can't this also happen back in Nigeria? Country. So when you go there, you want to learn, okay, so things can work. Because like maybe I've said it on this program before, my first trip to the United States, when I got there, I look up and I saw the sky. I said, oh, so what covers them here too is the sky, just like Nigeria.
The same distance.
Is it? And it's the same distance. So why can't it happen here too? If we continue to run away, this country will continue to slide. The worst will continue to rule the rest. But if people will say, okay, we die here, man. And then you see. Yeah.
Okay, sir, what you just said now is it's a way, there's this comedy that I've gone around for a while. Someone wanted to travel abroad, a young guy, and his friends caught him. And they said, nobody's living this country.
We die here, man.
Yes.
Nobody's living. No.
You can't escape.
You can't escape.
Yeah. So, sir, in the opinions we sampled, one of them was saying, when we watch videos. Now, you've talked about how we should interact with information, with movies, with music, and all, instead of just consuming. And you've also said that we miss what we don't have.
Yeah.
So now, this is someone who I've never been there.
And he's seen videos.
Yes, and then I think I had to say that also about Hollywood. When they want to talk about America, they paint America. Actually, that was what.
If you have ever been to Harlem, it's like Aguarugo.
Like, sir, the Harlem Street we've been hearing.
Harlem is in New York. It's in New York State. Right?
Yeah.
There are slums in America. There are dirty places in London. If I take only the pictures of my Tama, right? If I take the pictures of GRA in Jos and go to Lagos and take pictures of Lekki in dry season, in wet season is flooded. Okay, if I take the pictures of those beautiful houses in all those estates in Lekki, people will want to come here. I don't know if you guys have seen I don't know whether it's a TED talk of a Nigerian lady that spoke, that an American friend of hers came here to visit. They were living, the woman lived in Lekki.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you've seen the video, right?
She said she wanted to take a selfie.
And the woman, this American stayed with this woman, young girl, stayed with this woman in Lekki, and for about a week, and then she was wondering, this young girl has never taken any picture since she came, because they've been to the mall, they've been to ShopRite, they've been to all those kind of things. And then they traveled to Ibadan. The moment they stepped out of Lagos and they saw a dung hill around toll gate and everything, she brought out her camera. And this lady told her, you're insulting me? You're insulting me? I know your house in Dallas. The whole of your house in Dallas is not up to my living room where I live in Lekki. Where you live in Dallas. I've taken you to all the beautiful places in Lagos. You didn't take one picture. You now saw one naked boy. You brought out your camera. You are insulting me. Said the lady broke down and started crying. The video is online. Yeah. Broke down. Long story short. That American girl is now engaged to a Nigerian. Maybe they're even married now. She's visited Nigeria maybe about 4 or 5 times after that. She didn't know how to apologize to this lady. This lady visits America, she does business there, but she lives here. Said, you live, my house is about 10 times the size of a house in Dallas. You didn't take any picture of that. You now see some guy, because we drove past Mushin, and then you see one naked boy or somebody pinned by the roadside, you brought out your camera.
And she won't do that in her country.
She won't do that in her country. There are beggars in America. There are people who sleep under the bridge where the richest people on earth live, the Bezos of this world, and they have food banks close to their houses. People beg for food. They queue up for handouts. We need to, you see, that's why I don't like what Nollywood does. They bring out movies, they present our police as idiots. It should stop. There are policemen who are gentlemen who will address you. Why don't we paint a picture of what we want?
Yeah.
Why don't we create a new reality? This is the kind of policeman we want to have in Nigeria. This is the kind of civil servant we have. But we just show the world the worst side. My kids were watching a program, I forgot, maybe it's Friends or something. There's a series they do, maybe it's on Netflix. And there was a particular line, my daughter was mad. When they said, well, I just sent money to a friend of mine in Nigeria, and thank goodness she got it. Just in passing. Is it every Nigerian that's a fraudster? Is it every Nigerian that's a Yahoo kind of guy? They are not up to 1%. Why don't we show the world who we really are? Why don't we show them the beautiful hotels in Abuja? And the well-tarmac road in Abuja? Nobody wash their dirty linen in public. That's why the national orientation, all of them should be jailed. Because they're doing nothing there. They should look at every movie produced in this country. If you malign this country, it is cancelled.
Yes, true. We already have many negative pictures out there.
Yeah, even music.
Even music. And all those kind of things. So it's really something we need to. Nigeria is a brand.
Yeah.
Nigeria is a brand. We don't have an insurmountable problem. We only have a unique problem, just like any other country.
That's serious. It's true. Very, very true. So guys out there listening, please know that it is your responsibility, okay? If people out there
shouted it up.
Yes, you
I'm so sorry, but I mean it's
yes, it's driving the point home. So it's very, very true. So it's the responsibility of me and you out there to ensure that Nigeria has a positive picture. Whatever it's out there, I think it's our fault. We are also helping it. I think we should change the narrative. So guys, we've come to the end of today's episode of Answers with Dr. Reju. Don't forget that you can visit our website at answerswithdrreju.org to stream on all our previous episodes, including this one if you want to listen to it over and over and over again, because you need to. Okay, so we'll see you next week for another exciting episode. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
This is Partridge Radio.